launch. GC, go. Guidance, go. Fido, go. Prop, go. GNC, go. Max, go. Eagle, go. Ecom,
go. Pending final steps to cabin link check. Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you could need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural. From comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified.
Hey! Kelley, what's up, brother? Thank you for joining us. Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful edition of the Otters Den. Tonight, I have a very special guest on. His name is Mr. Kelley Meyer. Move your head to the side just a second. I want to see that sign back there. I know it's backwards, but Project Find Your Fire. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Okay, you can come on back. Like, get out of my camera. Like I said, thank you for joining in. Hello, Mort. Hello, Ashley. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to everyone who's going to pop in here pretty soon. One thing I do, Kelley, when people come on and make comments and ask questions is I throw them right up there when I can. Hey, Michelle, thank you for joining us. Please share out. Sharing is caring. And I know you all care about me, and I care about you very much. And Kelley cares a lot about people too, because he helps a lot of people. So Ed, Mr. Odell himself is in the house, the founder of the R.I.F.T Network Nation. Thank you, Ashley. How you doing? Lisa Campbell, the almighty sound effects lady, is in the house. Lisa Campbell, if you ever watched Drunken Oracle, Kelley, with me and okay. Yeah. Lisa was the almighty sound effects lady. She made all the sound effects in the background.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Hey, Gabby, how you doing? I'm excited about tonight. But I know you have to get up early in the morning. So Normally the show goes an hour. If it goes over a little bit, no problem. But I know when you need to go, you say so. Because the last time we did this, you were here in my house.
Yeah.
And we went for 4 hours and Facebook shut us down and we started over.
Yes. Yes, sir. I didn't even realize that Facebook had a time limit on how long you could go live. It does.
I was that day years old when I found out.
Yeah. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. It really was.
Yeah, absolutely. You met Renee? You know Renee?
Yep. Yep.
All right. Well, we're going to get started here. That's awesome, Gabby. I'm happy to hear that. I really am. What the? Hang on. Microsoft Copilot just popped in front of me. What the? I didn't hit any buttons. I don't need a Copilot. I got this. Eventually, I wouldn't mind having a Copilot, but that's down the road. Anyway, getting back to you. It ain't about me tonight. It's about you. You. See, I just got to prove to myself that I can point in the right direction because everything's backwards. If I actually point to you, I'm pointing over there.
Yeah, so do that again. How?
Why don't we start by introducing you, as in Kelley Meyer. Who is Kelley Meyer and how did Kelley Meyer get to be Kelley Meyer? Because when I met Kelley Meyer back in high school, we had some fun, let me tell you. We hung out, we were brothers. They had a studio downtown that they practiced their music in. They had a band. We saved money for the Puppy Chow Fund to go buy gut bombs. And if you don't know what that is, that's food fund to go buy burgers. Yeah. We made up all kinds of stuff. And what was it? Oh, we were listening to the words of that one Rolling Stones song, trying to get them down so you guys could do it.
Yeah.
And we came up with something like that was raised on a toothpick split in half instead of a toothless split in hag.
Yeah, we had all kinds of adventures back then. And really it was junior high when we
it was
different elementary schools, but when we ended up in junior high, that's when we sort of started hanging out. And when our friendship blossomed all through those years. And the ironic thing is, and Keith can tell you this too, is that after high school, we stayed in contact for a couple of years, but then we just sort of went our own way. Life called us in our own individual directions.
Yeah.
And what was ironic is that we were both going down sort of the same path, but in our own way.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, who I love dearly, nagged me and nagged me and nagged me to get on Facebook. And I just avoided it like the plague. And finally I said, man, I can't take you anymore. Okay, I'm joining Facebook. And then look who we hooked up with again.
Yeah.
And, we met a couple of years ago. I came to your place and we did the thing. And it was like we never skipped a beat.
Not wrong.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. It really was. And like you said, what is amazing is the roads we took.
Yeah.
Because I went down a few roads with a bunch of potholes. And eventually that led me to a place where I could park for a while and look at myself in the reflection of a lake. And I knew I needed some help, so I asked for it. And then I found a new road to drive on. And you were on that same road.
Yeah.
And that's how we got together. But I looked for you for years on Facebook and asking classmates. I'm like, where the is he? Nobody knew.
Yeah.
Nobody knew. I looked for you at the reunions and don't tell anybody, but that's kind of the only reason I went. Not really. But hey, Lisa, how you doing? It's amazing, and we've talked about this before. how two people can be so close and then something happens, an event, in our case, graduation, and you go your separate ways. You know, you got a job over here, I get a job in town, I stay in town. People move halfway across the country, and then all of a sudden, once we go through our own journeys in order to learn about ourselves and others, Spirit says, "Okay, you're ready. Here you go. Here's your cookie."
That's exactly it. To answer your question, though, who am I? For some of you who are popping on know me, so it's kind of rehash, but many of you probably don't. So who I am is that I am a board certified international coach. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I've done one-on-one coaching, group coaching, facilitated workshops. We get to travel all over the place doing what we love to do. And I've done it for almost 30 years now. It's like 28, 27, 28-ish, but I like to say almost 30 because it sounds better, I guess. I don't know. But it's getting pretty close to 30. And how this all worked is that after high school, I was doing the band thing, which turned out really pretty well for a while. And then something happened and I'd kind of lost that. And when I lost that, I lost my identity. I lost who I am. And we're going to get to identity. We're going to talk about that. And at that point, I knew my wife. We were dating, even though we didn't officially really date, but we were as close to dating as you probably could get. And I said, you know, I'm lost. I don't know what to do with my life anymore because this is all I know.
That's where I'm at.
She said, you love kids and you love music. Why not be a teacher? So I said, why? I'm not doing anything else. So why not? So I started with my undergrad in education, and I loaded up on psychology courses because I was totally fascinated with human behavior and why people do what they do. Then I started teaching high school. I did K-12 instrumental, kindergarten general music. And while I was doing that, I started working on my master's degree. And because I had so many credits in the psychology world, they allowed me to take graduate level psychology courses, human behavior courses, as long as I used them towards my education degree as an elective. So I totally loaded up on psychology and human behavior courses.
Absolutely.
Got my education master's and started teaching college, and then started doing my doctoral work at Boston University. So I did my doctoral work in education, but because I had so many already graduate credits in psychology and human behavior, they allowed me to load up on psychology, doctoral level psychology courses as electives, as long as I used them towards my education degree.
Right.
So I'm almost double degreed all the way through, but I've never declared that as one of my majors. So it's education, but the fascination with human behavior. But when I started doing this, I began already sort of working with people just as an informal sort of thing. I started writing some things. I was already doing research on stuff because of the degrees. I kind of had to anyway. But almost day one, when I started teaching, there were a couple high school kids who gravitated towards my office as their safe place. Like, I could tell right away they didn't want to go home. They didn't have any place else to go. And so I started working with these kids a little bit. And then I had a parent call me one day, and the dad said, "Hey, are you talking to my kid?" And I thought I was going to get my ass beat.
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I am." And he paused, and then he said, "Would you talk to me too?" I'm like, "Yes, I absolutely 100% will."
That's amazing.
That led me to talking with dads, which led me talking to friends of parents. And then I started being asked to speak in different places and doing workshops in different ways. And that just sort of built. And so that's where the birth of Project Find Your Fire came in. So as I was teaching for all of these years, Project Find Your Fire was really becoming a second full-time job. Fast forward to 2016, and the university system where I'm an associate professor is doing a reorganization, and we don't know what's going to happen. Even
Right.
tenured professors are being let go because of this reorganization. That's just the reality of the business of education.
Yeah.
And so it was a stressful time. And I had a conversation with my wife, and she said, well, maybe it's time to leave education. And that was a scary, scary moment for me because I had done it for so long. But at the same time, I had been doing Project Find Your Fire also for so long, but I've always been in the classroom
Yeah.
as well. So I took that leap of faith. I left academia, and I haven't missed it, not one day since then. Um, it's been a beautiful thing. I'm still working with people. I'm still traveling. I'm still teaching. I'm still doing all of that stuff. I just don't have to grade master's theses at 3 o'clock in the morning anymore and sit
Yeah.
on committees.
Right. Right. He's look at.
Honestly, I will never, and I always told my students this too, you don't have to call me doctor anything. I always told my students, you can call me Mr. Meyer, you can call me Dr. Meyer, you can call me Meyer if you want to, you can call me Mr. M, Dr. M, whatever. Don't call me Kelley, not in class. If you see me at Walmart, feel free to call me Kelley. We're adults, right?
Right.
But I know I have peers who like, you will call me. My ego's not that big.
Yeah.
I don't care what you call me.
Yeah, it's the same way in the paranormal field. I am psychic, medium, blah, blah, blah. I have this, and this, and this. And when I first started doing shows, going on other people's shows, I reached out to Steve, one of my mentors on Spirit Mechanics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Steve, they want to know what I call myself. I'm just me. He's like, no, they want a label. I don't label myself. I will not label myself. But they want to know what clairs you have. Use the clairs. You are I'm like, no, I'm not. I have them all. They come to me, and when the time is right, this spirit uses this spirit, this clair to talk to me. This spirit uses this clair to talk to me. When grandma comes, she makes me smell, well, she doesn't make me, but I smell chocolate chip cookies. When grandpa's here, cherry tobacco. I see and I see. I hear and I hear. I feel and I feel. I don't, it's not, I won't label myself. I'm like you. No, I don't have that big ego where you have to call me this. I'm just me.
Right.
I am Keith Ottersberg. And I survived.
There was a time early on, I had an encounter with a drunk old man, complete stranger. And he said to me, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Kelley. And he looked at me for a long time. And then he said this to me. He said, no, you're not. And the sooner you figure that out, the better off you'll be. And
Really?
on it goes. I'd never seen the guy again in my life. It's almost as if this old man showed up in my life just to deliver that message. And I didn't realize it at the time, but we as humans go through these changes, right? We evolve, we grow, we change.
Yes.
So every couple of years, we need to reevaluate and reassess who am I, what do I represent, and where do I fit into this life? And when I hit those spots, that crazy old drunk man still shows up in my brain with his words. The sooner you figure it out, the better off you'll be. See,
Yeah.
Kelley's not who I am. I mean, I am Kelley, but that's really just the name they gave to me to refer to me.
Right. When people ask, who are you? You can say your name or you can describe yourself.
Right.
Someone who has survived a big deal, and I'm proud of myself.
Yeah. And the trap a lot of people fall into is they'll say, like, who are you? Well, I'm a mechanic. I'm a teacher. And I did use that.
Mhm.
I'm a nurse. I'm a successful business person. I'm whatever it is. But the truth is that there will come a day in your life when you're not that.
Mhm.
And when that happens in your life, you will lose your identity and you're not going to know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you're also going to lose what you represent and where you fit into this life. If you lose one, you're going to lose all three.
Yeah.
And that's when people seek out a life coach and they're like, I don't even know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
Here's what I tell people is that instead of tying who you are to what you do, which is what most people do, instead discover the attributes that made you what you are. So in other words, what attributes make you a successful mechanic or a successful business person or a teacher, or for me, a coach, a speaker? There's a day that I'm not going to coach, a day that I'm not going to be a speaker. But what I am is I am loving, I am creative, and I am compassionate. And you can, those are all transferable skills.
Yeah.
Right? For a mechanic, it might be creative, resilient, determined, or whatever it is for you. Those attributes you can transfer over to any aspect of your life.
Yes.
There's a day when you're not a mechanic, right? There was a day when I'm not a teacher, but I didn't lose my identity. You didn't lose your identity because we understood of those things that made us that. And then we can go on and do something else in our life using the same attributes and be just as successful.
Absolutely. I sold parts for God knows how long, 3 decades.
Yeah.
I was a mechanic for a while. I did work in the shop, and one day I'm out there in a 120-degree garage, and I pulled my phone out, and I looked at myself on my camera, and I'm like, no. Spirit has been telling you for months that this is not for you anymore. Stop. So I stopped. And then after the fire, I've been putting up with a lot of BS at my job for decades. And one day I woke up in the rental and I said, you know what? I'm done. I hadn't got my insurance yet. I didn't know how I was going to support myself. I just said, you know what, Spirit, you've been telling me for a long time. You win. I'm done. I quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I stood up for myself with my girlfriend at that time and got blamed for everything. And that's fine. But I stood up for myself. I had the strength to finally stand up for myself. And I did it in a much better way than I ever used to. I was proud of myself. I simply talked to the woman. And, well, I'm single since that day, but that's a good thing. I let that go because it was no longer for me. The job was no longer for me. The relationship was no longer for me. And as soon as I did that, I let Shannon know, my now ex, and because I had been having issues with getting her to sign the divorce papers, et cetera, and the insurance papers because she was on the insurance. And she's like, cool, I'm coming up tomorrow. We'll get it done. We got everything done in one day. There were concerns she had about the financial aspect and this other person. I understand. Thank you for that. And then I got scammed out of my money and I had to get a job. And I wanted a job at this tool place because I know tools. Nope. Okay. At this parts store because I know parts. Nope. I used to say my mistake. It wasn't a mistake. I asked for what I was worth instead of what I was being paid doing that job. But nobody wants to hire you when you have 30 plus years of experience. They don't want to pay you what you're worth. They want to hire a podunk who doesn't know anything about and train them. Cool. I understand that. Every place, everybody needs to start. But out of luck, a friend of mine who I was on city council with calls me up and says, hey, you got this O2 sensor socket? It looks like this, this, and this. I'm like, absolutely, come and get it. And that's what I'm working on the first floor. He's like, oh. So I gave him a tour, told him, and, let him know about, me getting scammed and everything. He's like, come work for me. Okay, can I come take a tour of the place? Yeah, come up. And it's a manufacturing plant. And I told him, I didn't know if I could handle, the constant arm, shoulder movement. Give me a minute to think about it. He said, okay. So he calls me in a week. Hey, been thinking, I got this one position open up. It makes this starting out. In 6 months, you get this bonus, this bonus, this bonus, this, and you'll be here. Do you want it? I'm like, what is it? He's like, no. Do you want it? Okay, yeah. fine. So they stuck me in the tooling department. Thankful for it, but it's now time for me to move out of the tooling department. Spirit is showing me that there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. This is like in astrology, your north node versus your south node. Your south node is what you came into this life good at, mechanical skills, figuring out problems, troubleshooting. Okay. Had to figure out my life's purpose, my soul purpose. And that took a long time, but it's teaching, healing. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm getting into it, and I'm getting into it a little bit more. I recently got my Reiki Masters, so I'm going to do a little bit more studying on that, and then I'm going to start thinking about tarot cards. I do dabble in that, Drunken Oracle. A lot of those readings off of the funny pictures hit home for a lot of people. So I know I can do this, but that fear of failure is always there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Childhood. That is from my childhood.
Yep.
From doing something good or great that your parents should say, yo, that's awesome, or your teacher. But I got no acknowledgement. It's like, go away. When I'd ask for help, I never got it. So now I do everything by myself. It all makes a difference. And once you figure out your north node, your soul purpose, what you're actually supposed to be doing in this lifetime, then you start learning. You come back into contact with people who do what you're supposed to be doing to learn from. And I've learned a lot from this man. I've listened to him. I've taken notes. I've learned a lot. So it's an awesome journey. And I'm going to quit talking because I totally jacked your conversation. I apologize.
No, it's great. It's great, actually, because you have been on quite the journey. And yeah, you have a lot of lessons to share with people as well. So no, you talk. That's fine. I'm not that guy.
Both sides of the aisle. I've been on opposite sides about every situation you can think of. And I used to think that was a curse. It's not. It's a blessing, because now when I'm working with a client, a paranormal client, one of my neighbor girls, she needed some help, like, help with life. And I helped her out with some advice and stuff here and there. In fact, I was just over at her place today because her basement flooded. She bought my grandma and grandpa's house. So it was pretty cool. I get to actually go back into my grandma and grandpa's house. And I went over and smelled the flowers, and some of the same flowers are still growing from when they had the house. So it's an amazing thing. But it's just, if you sit back and let life flow, it makes things so much easier, even though you think it's so much harder. But when you try to force things to happen, that's when the universe says, no, not yet. Or, okay, you want that? You want a different job? You're done. Go find you a different job.
Yep. That's exactly it. And that's sort of the way the law of attraction works, is that if we allow that flow to happen, if we allow the energy to exist and sort of take in what's around us, every possibility is there. Every reality already exists. Where people run into problems is that they don't understand that the universe, our nervous system, our brain, our body, none of it understands what we want versus what we don't want. For example, somebody who is having trouble in their relationship and wants the relationship better with their spouse, with their neighbor, with their kids, whatever. If they keep thinking, my relationship sucks, I have to figure this out. My relationship is terrible, I got to figure this out. Relationship is terrible. It's a dumpster fire. I got to figure out what to do next.
That's what the universe hears.
Everything is hearing terrible relationship, terrible relationship, terrible relationship. It doesn't know that. Yeah. And so we have to be very, very clear about what we're looking for in the energy fields that already exist, because it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
And we can bring forth whatever it is we want, as long as we're very clear about that.
Right.
Not forceful about it.
Right. When I go to work in the morning, there's a very good chance that I'm going to walk in and get my tail ripped for something I didn't do. Okay, that's why I quit my last job. One of the main reasons. That's fine. I just tell myself, you know what? You've been here over 2 years. You got this. You can do this. You can get through this. You have 4 2-hour quarters to today. You got first quarter 8 to 10. Cool. You made it. Second quarter 10 to noon. Work day's halfway over. You got 2 quarters left. I look at it like a football game, 4 quarters. And Monday, I don't have bad Mondays. I don't look at Monday as a bad day. Monday is Monday. Okay. Yay. New work week. Okay. Let's get it started. Tuesday's laundry day. Take my uniforms in, put the old ones in the thing, get my new ones. Okay. We got that. Wednesday at noon. Guess what? I'm halfway through that work week. Awesome. Yay team. Thank you. Then Thursday, hey, tomorrow's Friday. And now it's Saturday and I got to do stuff for myself and I made it through the week. So it's all in your attitude. Yes, I would love to have a new job. I need to find something that fits me. Maybe I just need to make my own, but I need something to support myself while I'm doing it. And that's okay. I'm looking, I'm open, but I don't go to work in the morning saying, God, this job sucks. I hate it. I don't hate anything. I don't hate anybody. That's a very strong word. I stopped using that word a long time ago. Do I just like certain aspects of my job? Yes. Have I made mistakes that made my job more difficult? Yes, I have. Are there reasons from the job that I made those mistakes? Yes, there is. But that's my business, not anybody else's business, unless they make it their business, in which I will gladly tell them.
And ownership is a beautiful thing, and that's what you're describing here.
Yeah.
And that's, one of the things that I teach people is that you have to own where you're at right now in your life. Research is different. Sometimes it'll say 35,000 decisions a day. Some research says 60 to 70,000 decisions every day. That's a lot of decisions. But imagine this, that every decision you've ever made in your life has led you to this exact point. Yes. I don't mean generally in your life, you live in this house, you have this job, you're doing this. I mean, like right now in your chair talking to me, every decision you've ever made in your life has led you to this exact moment. Now, if we can own that, we can control it. And if we can control it, we can change it.
Yes. Yes. I had to go through everything that I ever went through in order to get to today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And guess what I did going through all those things? I survived, I learned, and I got to today. You and I had scheduling issues for what, months?
Yeah.
For me to get you on here. Okay, no problem. We got time. No problem. And then all of a sudden everything clicked. Now it's time. It is time now. And again, I'm appreciative of you coming on the show today.
Well, I'm glad you asked me. I'll always be on your show. We just have to find the time. And
right.
I'm humbled that you want me on and you want to listen to me talk and hear all this stuff. And that means a lot to me. It really does.
Thank you. Does anybody out there have any questions? And while we're waiting for a second for them to, do their typing thing, I am going to take a moment. Kelley has sent me some links that you can reach him at and check out. The first one is his website, and that is, hang on. There we go. Putting that in the chat as we speak. That is projectfindyourfire.com. And I'm going to add his Facebook right here. And his other Facebook right here. And then I'm going to throw something really cool in there. It's called a freebie. It's called do you know what a freebie is? It's free.
I dated that one once.
Yeah. Okay, this one. If you click on this one, this is projectfindyourfire.com 7 steps. You want to explain that a little bit, Kelley?
Yeah. So whenever we try to make positive changes in our life, New Year's resolutions or whatever it might be, you're working on your weight, you're working on your finances, whatever it is, areas in your life that you need to try to improve. We get started on them, but then we tend to let them slip and we fall short of where we want, right?
Yeah.
The 7 steps are 7 steps that you can take to make positive changes permanent in your life. But you have to do the thing, right? You can, if you read it, it's just words on a page. You have to actually do the work.
Yeah, reading you can get the knowledge, but me quitting these is a thing. Yes.
I've been asking you about those for a long time.
Yeah, I know. It is here. It is here. I make progress on certain days, and then Spirit says, "No, not yet. It ain't time yet. When it's the day that I'm supposed to, I will grab that pack in the morning and go, no, or light it. It's like no." Just when I was addicted to Mountain Dew, I tried to quit that stuff for years, and I finally gave up trying to quit. And when I did that, when I just accepted, okay, I'm addicted to this stuff. When I accepted that, about a month later, I went to work, opened my Mountain Dew, took a drink, and spit it in the trash can. I was done. That simple. No withdrawals from the chemicals, the caffeine, nothing. I was just done.
Quitting Pepsi was a little bit harder for me because I also was addicted, and I would drink a 12-pack of Pepsi a day. Easy.
Same. Mountain Dew, same.
Got to the point where I was hiding my Pepsi in the garage because my wife was giving me a hard time about drinking so much Pepsi.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was hiding it like a drug, right?
Yeah.
And we went to a conference in Fiji, and we flew in, and it's one of the smaller islands. And when we landed, we checked into our resort room, and we're at the convention center, where it's a conference center. It's not a convention center because they're small. But there were no soda machines on the entire island.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that fight or flight mode hit, didn't it?
It was cold turkey, no Pepsi. So that was a little bit rough. But when I got home, I went to open one, and we were there for 10 days. I opened one and had a drink, and it tasted like crap.
Yeah.
I spit it out, and I was done.
Yeah, it's that, and I know it's going to be like that for this.
With smoking too, quitting smoking is a lot like a lot of the other professional or personal development things, personal growth things that we go through. And somebody asked me once, I just actually drew the conclusion right now as we're talking, but somebody asked me once, why do people quit on personal development? Like they'll start doing workshops, they'll start doing the books, they'll start incorporating stuff in their life, and then they quit. And the reason they do that is because they quit when it gets hard. When they start getting to a level where they're opening up parts of themselves that they don't want to have to deal with anymore, it's so much easier to turn around and go back the other way than it is to wade that stream.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When it's the hardest, that's when it's the most important. So
Yes.
I just drew the conclusion, like when I was quitting smoking, when it got hardest of not having a cigarette, that's when it was most important to not have one.
Yeah.
Once I got through that, then everything, and I understood that I was meeting different needs, and I found ways to meet needs. And but understanding sort of that, getting through that hard part, then it rolled. Then I could start going downhill.
I can, as the hair stands up on my arms, I completely understand that.
Yeah, I know you do.
When when I started looking into the paranormal, why things were happening, I would learn. I would reach out for knowledge. And then I would get glimpses and it got scary. So I'd back out and then I'd get into it again. And then I got my help. I finally had the strength to ask for help. I searched for someone to help me and I found that help. And they sent someone here to help me. And I accepted that help instead of knocking the guy's head off. Because that's what I wanted to do when I opened that door. I wanted to knock his head 30 feet into the street. And I just stepped back and I said, yeah, come on in. And I'm glad I did. But then it got rougher. It got harder.
Mm-hmm.
The paranormal issues were gone. Yay. Woke up the next day depressed as. Okay, what's going on? Wait, I remember Steve saying on a live feed that when you take something from somebody that they've been used to for decades, even an energy, doesn't have to be a drug, doesn't have to be cigarettes, nicotine, even an energy. Your body, your mind, your soul is used to that. You are used to the constant noises in your home. You are used to things getting thrown in your home. You are used to getting drugged down the stairs in your home. Now it's quiet. And that's change.
Yep.
And what do Scorpios detest the most? Change. But that got me looking for information again, learning, self-help stuff. I keep quitting it. So finally, one day I got tired. I was in a dark night of the soul. I was 6 months on my couch. I think I've told you this before. And I finally got up and I went up and looked in my bathroom mirror. And I looked at myself and I didn't see anything different. So I looked into myself and into my past. And that's when I woke up. I'd been an asshole. I had been. It wasn't all the other people's fault. I had a lot to do with it. Did they have some things to do with it? Absolutely. Could I have done things a lot differently? Absolutely. And that growth is what led me to do things differently in my last relationship. I'm very thankful for that 9-month lesson. Mm-hmm. It was 4 really good months and then 5 really not so good.
But it was lesson.
In that 9 months, I found the strength inside myself with all the work that I've done on myself with others' help that I did things the right way. In my mind, I did things the right way. But I did it when things were most difficult.
Yeah.
I didn't let myself run and hide again. I was tired of that. I was done. Either something's going to happen when I do this, or something's going to happen when I do this.
Yeah.
And I'm still here today.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that. And that's one thing that I figured out about, not being here anymore today. We'll just say that. I'm not going to say the word. It's not that I was that way. It's that I just didn't care. I really didn't care if I woke up.
Yeah.
But that it showed me that if that happened to me, if I made that happen, whatever, that would transfer all of my pain, my hurt, my heartache, my confusion to who? To my kids, to my grandkids, to my parents, to my relatives, to my friends, my coworkers, and I can't do that to those people.
That's right.
So I figured out a way to not. And that's, I'm just going to say, that's pretty amazing for me because the old me used to take the easy way out.
Yeah, you've come a long way. Oh, you have come a long way.
You have too. You have too.
Thank you.
Some of the antics we used to do in high school.
I still tell some of those stories, and some of them I don't feel like I can tell.
Okay, your blue car. Was it an Impala?
Yeah, a Caprice. Okay.
Caprice, yes. Big 4-door blue boat. It was amazing.
Still have that.
You are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you got to send me pictures. I still got my white Mustang. It's in pieces in the driveway, but I still got it.
Mine is not picture worthy right now. It's at my mom's. It's in storage. It needs work.
My Mustang's on jack stands in the garage, no rear differential, no engine. It's yeah. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. As the professionals say. Me and him were out cruising around one night after school, and the cheerleaders were having a car wash at McDonald's parking lot. So we think, oh, we should do this Cheech and Chong thing where we smoke so many cigarettes it's just completely filled, and we roll down the windows and it just rolls out. So we did that. If I remember right, didn't we go downtown one night and plug a parking meter and just sit in lawn chairs?
Yeah, we did.
We used to do some crazy stuff. I look back at some of the stuff I did back there and then, and I shouldn't be here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know. Same thing. I tell stories, and my mom even says, "I don't even know how you're still alive," and she doesn't even know half the stuff that I did.
That taking the pinto out. I don't think you were along on this night, but a bunch of us went out, and there were some really big, what are they called? In fields with a hill, terrace.
Yeah.
We went terrace jumping, and
Yeah.
we'd roll the car, and then we'd get out and push it back over and do it again after we popped the dents out of the top of it.
Yeah.
So we did some stupid stuff. The tracks out by Sadoff's junkyard. We Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy things. But what you were talking about before, reminded me is that we get so ingrained with our routine and our patterns, and we get so comfortable with that normalcy. I have a name for it. I've called it toxic relationship syndrome, and here's why. Is because we go back to what is normal, what is comfortable. Doesn't mean it's comforting, but it's comfortable, because it, just like in a toxic relationship, an abusive relationship, people will keep coming back. Why? Because that's all they know.
It's their normal.
But we do that with our own emotional state too, because people with depression who come to me, there are people who will fight harder to stay depressed because losing their depression is scary. They don't know what life is like without it.
Yes.
They know what it's like to go into depression. They know what the depression is. They know how long it's going to last. They know what it's like to come out of it. And then they're like, this is just part of my life. Mm-hmm. And so that's going back to what's comfortable. I had a client once who she would contact me like a half hour before our session would start. She's like, I can't meet today. The depression is so hard. I can't do this. I'm in my bed still. I've got my hoodie on. I'm just crying. I'm sobbing. I'm just a snotty mess. I'm like, get your ass on the phone, because this is exactly when I want to talk to you. I don't want you when you're having a good day. Nobody ever grew when they're having a good day. No. I need you right now so that we can deal with the demon that's on you right now. Yeah. And so it took a little bit of time, but then she finally agreed to it, and then out of it. And now today she's actually doing her residency for a clinical therapist.
Nice.
Yeah.
My ear just went off. Sorry. It's the same way in the paranormal field when you're helping somebody with the paranormal.
Yeah.
When nothing's going on, they're fine. You keep trying to work with them. You keep trying to get information from them, but I'm busy. Okay. All right. And then all of a sudden, Friday night, you're getting ready to go to bed, 11:30 after watching TV, going to, whatever. Your phone rings, it goes off, whatever, messenger, it's help.
Yeah.
Okay. So you message them back. You ask your questions. They don't want to give you information. They don't want to talk. They don't want to video conference. They don't want to talk on the phone. It makes it difficult. Mm-hmm. It's not impossible, but it makes it difficult. It takes a lot more energy. And a lot of times they'll hide things from you that they've done. But we can feel, we can see, we know.
Yeah.
But when we are helping somebody, we need all of the information that we ask you about.
Mm-hmm.
That includes, I'm just like, use paranormal for an example. What chemicals do you have in your home? Are any of the lids loose? Do you have mold in your home? How old is the wiring? What's the foundation made of? What is in the dirt around your home? What's in the bedrock? Do you know the past history of your home, of the land around your home? Medications, illicit drug use, alcohol abuse. We don't want to have to ask those questions, but we need to ask those questions.
Mhm.
Have you had your house and your basement tested for radon gas? It all can make a difference. How old is do you have a fuse box with the old screw-in fuses? Or do you have an older breaker box? Or do you have a newer breaker box?
Yeah.
EMF is a thing. It can be toxic.
Yeah.
Just like relationships.
Yeah.
I lost a very good relationship because I offered a safe space, a healing space, and she got scared and ran back to the toxic one that she had been trying to get out of. And that's fine. I understand. But an explanation would have been nice instead of just, cold turkey blocking my ass. I thought, okay, what did I do? What did I say? How is this my fault? My old instincts kicked in. And so I sat back and I thought about it. I'm like, dude, you didn't do or say anything wrong. And, I had talked to several of my colleagues, my teammates about this situation, as it was happening. And they're like, no, you handle it very well. Thank you for that. It helped me see that I didn't cause the situation. I may have a little bit, not going to take that away. Maybe by being too codependent at that time, by any time she messaged, hey, I need help. Okay, cool, I'm there. Instead of, I'm in the middle of putting an engine in right now and I'm holding the tranny up with my arm. I'm going to need a little bit. No, I would drag that jack stand over it, set it down, and go get cleaned up and go. Codependency is a thing, and it can affect you and your partner in very, I'm going to say good ways and not so good ways. You have to be able to stand up for yourself and say, hey, I really can't do this right now. I'm sorry. I would love to, but I've got this going on. And if you have to have somebody with you 24/7, if you have to know where they are 24/7, constantly texting, calling, whatever, that's not good.
Right.
You need to be able to trust your partner. They need to be able to trust you. Hey, what's up? I'm working a little bit late, or letting them know, hey, I'm working a little bit late. Let you know when I'm on my way home. Cool. Okay. Hey, taking the back way home tonight. Okay, cool. I do that so if I don't go, get home, they know where to look for me.
Right.
I've learned how not to be codependent and how to not cause codependency in the relationship. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing.
Yep.
And it's good to do because that shows you care about your partner. You want them to know where you're at, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm at the bar and with the guys, and I'm going to be about another half hour. Let me finish the beer, pay my tab, and I'll be home. Cool. Do it. Finish that beer, pay that tab, and go home. Do what you're going to do. If something happens and you can't do that, pick up the phone. Hey, can you come get me?
That's exactly it too. And, when it comes to trust in relationship, it's so easy to give them a reason. I say them, but I mean like anybody, a reason to not trust you. Like I'm at the bar with the guys. I'm going to finish off this drink, pay my tab. I'll be home in like 15, 20 minutes.
Mhm.
An hour later, if you're not home because because you had another one, or because somebody came into the bar and now you're talking, it doesn't have to be a bad thing.
No.
But now we have questions,
Yes.
and you can avoid all of that. So
And worry.
easily.
Yes. There's worry and there's questions. And Renee is a member, as well as Lisa, member of the COVID Paranormal team. And she does a lot of our research, and she is amazing at it. I just got to put that shameless plug in.
Hey, you got to plug when you can, right? Yonk, yonk, yonk.
Not wrong. I'm just going to shut up right there because
So next topic.
yes. Dishes. Next subject is dishes, as Lisa Campbell snorts out of her nose.
There's an inside joke there somewhere, I feel.
Okay.
And
you
if,
deserve to know this one because you'll get a kick out of this.
if the dishes are moist, that makes it even better.
Oh, moist. I love that word. I love that. Moist. Okay, there was a meme, and this happens to me every time I do dishes by hand, in the sink instead of the dishwasher. My shirt is soaked. It's like if your shirt isn't soaked, have you even done the dishes?
Yeah.
And that got to the moist comment and the wet comment. So now doing the dishes has a whole nother meaning. Look.
Yep.
You try and you do, Renee. You try and you do. I am proud of every member of my paranormal team because they, like me, have all been through activity and hardships and lessons in their life, and they have come through, and they have learned, and they have grown, and now we're all helping other people. Just like you and I have, we had trials and tribulations in high school and after, and we're still here doing the thing, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I am too. And I think that's part of the growth. And, when it gets hard, a lot of people want to give up. And then there are some of us who sometimes we gave up and sometimes you just keep going. And the analogy I use is that, it's like lifting weights. The first 7 reps are easy. Again, but nobody ever grew from first 7 reps. It's reps 8, 9, 10. That's where the growth happens.
When you feel that burn.
Yeah.
Same way in life. When you feel that burn, that's when you're going to learn. If everything is roses and sunshines and unicorn, you're not going to grow. You're not going to learn. You're going to be complacent in where you're at. And if everything's good, there's nothing wrong with that. But if things get tough, you need to figure out why. And not why, not why is this happening to me? What is this teaching me?
Right. What does this mean?
I had a hard time with that.
It's and you mentioned, the people around you and the work that you're doing and how it affects the people around you. We always say that personal growth, the personal work that we do isn't about us. It's about everybody around us. I mean, it is about us. I want to be a better person tomorrow than I am today. But at the same time, April needs me to be a better husband than I am right now. And I'm a pretty good husband, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But she wants me to be just a little bit better. My kids need me to be a better dad than I was yesterday. And again, I'm a pretty good dad.
Yeah.
But I can be a little bit better. My friends need me to be a better friend than I was. It's about all of those people that we interact with around us in our life, that we lift them up and make them more so that they can spread that to the people that they interact with. So the stuff that we're doing for ourselves isn't necessarily for ourselves. It has that ripple effect in our communities as we work around.
Butterfly effect. But we always need to take into consideration where we're at in our own life, in our own feelings, and our own mental situation, because there are times when we need a break.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to take that break. I like to use the analogy of a teacup on a saucer. Keep your cup full. Fill it so it's over spilling, and there's a little bit on that saucer. Use that to feed out to others. But keep your own cup full. And if something happens and your cup empties, do the work in order to refill it so that you can get back up to who you are. Yeah. And it's not easy sometimes.
And
I still have my days.
At the beginning, you know, I'd always hear people say, well, take care of yourself and do this for yourself. And, you know, when the masks drop in the airplane, put yours on first so you can take care of yourself first. And I always thought, that's so selfish. I need to help other people. That's my purpose in life.
Right.
And then I got to a point where I needed to heed that advice and step back and take care of myself. And I discovered something beautiful is that once I started taking care of myself, I actually had more that I could give to other people.
Yes.
And so since that point, the focus has been here, but at the same time, I have more that I can give out. And it's funny when we do workshops, you know, we're working with other people, and I have to stress to them that even though the work I'm having you do, and I'm up in April's office right now. In my office, I create a workbook for every workshop, different workshop that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I stress to people that even if it's rudimentary development work, we still go through this process constantly because we have to reevaluate who we are, right?
Every day.
Lots of times when I do most of the work during a workshop, I do most of the speaking and working with people. April comes and she's like the color commentary kind of person and puts her 2 cents in where
she does well.
she can. Yeah, she does an awesome job.
Yes.
But she is almost always sitting at a table off to the side or in the back with the workbook, actually doing the work. And I'm like, you guys look at this because we developed this. We invented this. We've done it for a long time. And she's doing the work right now with you.
Yeah.
That's how important it is. And you can't stop doing it.
No, you can grow from a situation.
Yeah.
You had a childhood trauma. Okay. Something happens now. And Mercury goes into retrograde and brings it back up for you to look at. And you actually look at it. Okay, this happened because this person did this and I did this. And you think about it during the shadow period. Okay, we could have totally avoided that if I would have done this instead of that, and they would have said this instead of that. That's what the retrogrades are for. They're here to help us. But it's like layers of an onion.
Yeah.
Okay, you got through the first layer. Now, let's get to why that situation never came up in the first place. Okay, you got through that one. Now let's get a little deeper. Yeah. And I still have repeating cycles come up. And now it's like, okay, let's look at this. I used to hate Mercury and Pluto retrogrades because I would get my ass handed to me. You know why? Because I wasn't doing the work.
Exactly.
If Mercury says, here, you need to work on this, work on it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, when Pluto goes retrograde, Pluto will pick your ass up by the back of the neck and face plant you in the concrete. If you need to sit down, he will put you in a car accident to break your leg in order to put you in a hospital bed so you can think about things. Yeah. You know, like when your parent, go to your room and think about what just happened. Sound advice.
But did we really? No, we went to our room and pouted about it.
Yeah.
Then we're just mad, like,
yeah,
shit in my room, my ass. I'm going to go out and beat something.
You caught me. How dare you?
Yeah. It's your fault.
Yes. Yeah, exactly, Lisa. Peel the onion. And do you cry when you're actually physically peeling an onion? Yeah. Yeah. Run under some water. It helps. Scorpio, water energy. Allow that water to flow if you need to.
And that's the thing between a traumatic experience and living with trauma is kind of what you described, and kind of the way that I teach it is that
right, Renee.
Traumatic events happen in our life, but it's nothing more than a moment on our timeline. That's all it is. But we as humans assign meaning to things. That
yes, we do.
emotion that we gave to that event, anytime you give meaning to something in your past, it will become part of your future at some point. And whatever the meaning you gave it is going to keep showing up and showing up. And that's what living in trauma looks like. Now, let's say we have a traumatic experience that is really a bad one. We could say, well, I'm the victim. This always happens to me. My life has changed forever now. It'll never be the same. Now I have to suffer this day after day after day. And that's going to be our future. Or we can say, you know what? I'm stronger than I thought I was. I have more resources than I thought I had. It showed me I don't have to live in that.
Right.
That can become our future too, from the very same event.
This happened. How can I learn from it?
Yeah.
To help myself.
Yeah.
When you assign a specific date and a specific time to a memory, and that comes up every year, death of a parent, death of a child. I'm not saying you can't grieve.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm saying there is no timeline for to heal from grieving. I'm not saying that. But I look at death differently than other people do. A death of one of my children would hit me very hard, and it would take me a while. But now when someone passes away, especially if they've been laying in a hospital bed for months suffering, they get to go home and have that happy reunion with their parents and their aunts and their uncles and their friends, and they're not hurting anymore. Right. And we don't have to stand there around them while they feel guilty about us being around them in that hospital room instead of enjoying our lives. It's I don't want to say it's a relief, but I'm happy for them. Does it make me sad that we lost them? Absolutely.
Sure.
But to this day, I cannot tell you the day, the time, or the year that my dad passed because I didn't memorize it. Because I was happy he was no longer here suffering. Same with my mom. I know it's been around a year, and that was because the Facebook memory popped up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even thought about it. I did my grieving. I talked to her. I had conversations with her. I healed things. Same way with Dad. Me and Dad's relationship was really different. And I thought a lot of things that weren't true. And once he passed and he could actually have those conversations with me because he had dementia, that is when I really learned a lot about my childhood. And I really started looking at it. And the interesting thing, hey, Bill, is I was talking to Renee about this last night. It's like different timelines. Me and my sisters were on different timelines. Mm-hmm. Or I jumped. They didn't. I don't know. But I remember Mom and Dad getting divorced when I was 6. I know this because that's when that thing hit me at Rockford Lake when I was fishing. I was 6. And later that year, Dad left. I was 6. You want to know when they got divorced? According to the divorce papers and according to my sisters, when I was 9. When I was 9. And I remember things they don't. But there was a commonality in that house. None of us wanted to go upstairs to the attic. We would turn the light on, the light would not work. We'd tell Dad the light bulb was burned out. He'd go in, hit the light switch, it'd work. But he wouldn't go up either. I can remember that house to a T, except for half of my bedroom and half of the basement. It's really strange. So I'm working on that because when Steve took that thing out of me, I lost 3/4 of my memories. I can't play the saxophone anymore. I didn't remember my kids' births. I could go on, but 3/4 of my life was just gone. But over time, I got those memories back. When I did good things for myself, or really good things for others and really help them, Spirit would say, good boy, here.
Yeah.
Then, wait, there's more. Then I got to work through those memories to heal myself from those memories. And it's an ongoing process.
Oh yeah.
It's never going to stop. I will always be healing, always, till the day I die. As I look out and see the sunset through the curtain, that's gnarly. That's awesome. God, I haven't said gnarly in a long time.
I was gonna say, what the heck?
Gnarly, dude. That's gnarly.
Radical.
Oh, I guess the point me and Kelley are trying to make is if life's tough, there's a fucking reason. Are you doing the work you're supposed to be doing? If you're having a rough time at your job, are you doing your job? Are you doing your job the way that you should be doing your job? I'll admit it now. At my last job, treatment, raises, overtime, I got to the point where I did not care. I was late every day. I didn't care. I got there when I wanted to. Did I get fired? No. I tried to get fired. I tried. Didn't work. He wouldn't fire me.
You know, and when we did that 4-hour live, it's interesting because the 4-hour plus round 2 is that I remember you saying, I don't care when I go in the morning. Because I kept saying, don't you have to work in the morning? Like, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning now. Do you have to work? It doesn't matter when I get there.
He wouldn't fire me. Why? Because he needed someone there that would do the work. I did the work. But when the work was done, I pretty much stood there and scrolled on Facebook until a customer came in. I would get bored doing that, and I'd go dust the shelves or sweep the floor. I was the only one that would sweep and mop the floor. I was the only one that would dust the shelves, do the defects, the battery defects. You know, I got to the point where I had everything done. What else am I going to do? You know, I'd make Napa ads and put them out. And, you know, I made a Napa Facebook page and spent time on that. But a lot of times I was just sitting there scrolling, looking for positive things to help me learn. Not everything was mafia wars. Not everything, but there were some mafia wars, just saying. But communication with your employer is important. And when your employer will not communicate with you in a compassionate way, actually listen to your concerns about said customer, about said shop. Hey, this person talked to me about this. Well, this is the way we do things. Okay. Next thing you know, that shop quits buying from Napa. When all it would take is a little communication from Greg.
Yeah.
Should have said that word. Greg Brady.
What it comes down to too is that, you know, people will do things for one of 2 reasons. And I'm going to get to communication here in just a second, but people will do things to either avoid pain or to increase pleasure. It's one of those 2 things. If you watch TV, every commercial is about avoiding pain or increasing pleasure. One of those 2 things. Marketers understand this. When it comes to communication, it's the same thing. People will either communicate, either verbally or non-verbally. It's either a loving response or it's a cry for help. There is no in between. It's
right.
One of those 2 things. So if you are not communicating, if my boss isn't communicating with me in a kind, positive manner, it's a cry for help from them for something, and not necessarily directed at me, but it's something they struggle with. As parents, we experience the same thing when we're hollering at our kids. I said 10 times, clean up your dang room. Can you clean your room, please? We're crying out for help. That's not a loving response. We're crying out for help for them. Like, dude, you got to help me help you do this, please.
Okay, son, I've asked you multiple times to clean your room. Why don't you want to clean it? Be honest, it's okay. Help me understand. Your spouse. Your spouse. Your friend. I don't care who it is. Boss, I don't care. Listen. Listen. Don't hear them. Listen to them while understanding how they feel about the situation.
Right.
Okay. And don't listen to win the quote argument. Shouldn't be an argument, it should be a conversation. If you listen to comprehend instead of reply, life gets much better because you actually understand how the other person feels about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not sure, if you don't understand what they're telling you, okay, hey, wait, I need a minute to process that because I'm not getting it. Can you figure out a different way to explain it that maybe I can understand better? Communicate, actual communication instead of you did this. Well, you did this. It's like, no, hey, this happened. It's making me feel like this. Can we find a way to repair the situation so this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, it's not difficult. And the beautiful thing that you just described is the difference between perception and perspective.
Yeah.
Perception creates our reality. In fact, I have an awesome little experiment I'm going to show you about perception. But perception, our own perceptions create our own realities, which is how we see the world. Perspective is being able to see other people's realities.
Yeah.
Seeing through their lens. And when you can do that, that opens up a whole world of possibility when it comes to communication.
Yeah. Okay. My wife just bit my head off. Why? Well, she had a really shit day at work and maybe she feels safe letting it out. Okay. Hey, I understand you need to vent. Okay. I understand you had a bad day at work. Please don't bite my head off because I dusted and vacuumed but forgot to do the dishes. I'll go do it now. But if you need to vent, just tell me. I'll listen to you. Communication. When I was actually making a very hard attempt at quitting this in my last relationship. I really was. And instead of, hey, can you wait 10 minutes to have that next one? Yeah, sure, no problem. Hey, can you wait 20 minutes? That's help. Asking me, hey, can you? Yeah, sure, no problem. Instead of us, you ought to hear yourself on the front porch in the morning. I do. I'm sitting there. That would tick me off. So what would I do? I'd light a cigarette. I'm a Scorpio. Off. You're going to bitch at me for something I'm working on? That is my body removing things from my lungs that should not be in them. And that's actually how I get rid of negativity anyway. Even did it before I started smoking. And now I understand why, because when Steve pulled that thing out of me, I don't know what I coughed up, but I went outside on the front porch, spit it in the bush, and there's still a hole there. There is still a hole in that bush. I know that. I understand it. I'm okay with that. When I start coughing, I know my body is getting rid of negativity, either A, physical negativity, okay, or B, metaphysical negativity that can become physical. Everybody has their own way of dealing with negative energies and getting rid of them. Each person's body is different. And that's something that's hard to explain to a client because they're embarrassed about it. No, it's okay.
Right.
I don't give a shit. Okay, I am not judging. I am helping, but I need to know. And same thing with your significant other. You need to know where they're at in life in order to know where you're at in life. Because if they're sitting there hiding a bunch of things from you, or you're hiding a bunch of things from them, it ain't gonna work. There's gonna be clashes. You're vibrating at different vibrations.
Yep.
When you walk up to a microphone and it squeals, that's reverberation, not vibration.
Yeah.
When you are vibing on the same level, everything flows good. You got those waves and they're matching each other.
Yeah.
When you have this wave doing this and this wave doing that, guess what?
Then you got a tsunami.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Oh, you right now, my mind is running a million miles a minute.
Mine too. Let me share this with you, because our perceptions, it comes from our senses. Everything that we see, smell, taste, touch, hear is perceived.
Yes.
And no two people will perceive the same thing the same way.
Right.
So when you look at my cup, I love this. When you look at my cup, this shade of blue is not an uncommon shade of blue. I've seen that shade of blue a million times.
Purple.
You've seen this shade of blue a million times.
Yes.
Everybody watching here has seen this shade of blue. Except the crazy thing is that when we all look at this blue, we're all seeing a slightly different shade of blue. Science has proven this,
Yes.
which means that if we're all seeing a slightly different shade of blue, that this singular shade of blue doesn't even really exist.
Okay. When we look at other people, say for a relationship, at first everything's all bright and shiny. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're having issues in their life, you see their potential. You see what they could be if they do the work for themselves. So, knight in shining armor Keith would jump to the rescue. Don't look at some. It's important to see somebody's potential, but don't rely on that for a relationship, because you don't know if that person is going to do their own work while you're doing your own work, while you're working together. You don't know that. And there are so many people out there that wear masks.
Yep.
Use glams. See me this way instead of this way. It's a thing, metaphysical, energy work. I'll put on my bracelets and walk into Walmart. Don't see me. That's what we call a glam. They work. So it's important to be able to have face-to-face communication with a person. Get to know them. Spend time with them before just jumping in. They used to call it courting. Then they called it dating. Now what do? Hey, you're cute.
And we hook up.
Yeah. And then you move in and then you get to know each other. And by then it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, that happened to me the last time. I set boundaries. I explained those boundaries. And then all of a sudden, her life exploded and she's in danger. What do? I run to the rescue. No. Okay, I understand where you're at. You need help? I can help. You need to ask me for that help. But you need to get your life figured out first. You need to know where you're at. Then we can talk, because I got to know where I'm at too.
Yep.
You know, and if I decide not to do this and you know, still want to be friends, still help you, you got to be okay with that. And I'm okay with that as well. You both have to be okay with that. If you both can't be, there's an issue, and maybe you need to back away. That's happened to me a few times. Somebody showed interest, very beautiful, model, commercials, movies, lived the $1 million lifestyle. I didn't think this person could ever be interested in me. So I went the other route. Somebody else paid attention to me. Okay, this person's more on my league. Well, we broke up and this model got back a hold of me. Turns out I did have a shot. However, I practiced the pause and I sat back and I looked and I listened. I'm like, yeah, that's a nope. Not because she's a bad person, but because she had opportunities to help herself and she didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help somebody unless they want the help. And then the accusatory tone comes out, when you try to help someone and they don't want the help, you can become the demon.
Absolutely.
So, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, but I've noticed this, and this. I'm sorry. I don't think I'm comfortable with this. And, I'm sorry, but I need to tell you this. And she came back with, okay, I understand that. Those are all valid things. I didn't accuse. I said, hey, I've noticed this. And can we still be friends? Absolutely. I ain't heard from her since.
Yep.
I caught her. I saw behind her mask. That embarrassed her. That pissed her off. That's okay. Maybe that will help her learn in the future. I hope so.
Right.
My last relationship, I wish her nothing but the best. I want her to learn about herself and her life and her family, and I want them all to work on everything and be happy. Just not here.
Right. Yeah.
You can love and care for somebody and support them from a distance.
Absolutely.
Family can be toxic. You can lose a family member. Just you have to remove yourself from the situation. That's okay. But you will still grieve that loss, even though it's a toxic loss, because you are used to that energy. That creates a hole, a void, but that creates a hole that can be filled with something better.
Yep. What's the saying? I want to see you eat, just not at my table.
Hmm? Yes, my table is for very special people.
Yeah.
And you have eaten at my table. Just saying. Yeah, Lisa, put the first aid kit down. They need to get it out and open it, not us. They need to ask. If they want help, they need to ask for help.
Yeah, we can't control what other people do, say on any of these outside influence. Like, the only thing we can control is how we respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on us. And it doesn't matter what it is, the toxic job, the toxic relationship. Yeah, that outside stuff shouldn't be happening.
Right.
But we can't control that. We can only control our response to it. And the biggest struggle relationship wise from my clients is when one person comes to me because they want to work on themselves, but the other person has no desire to. But they've been married a long time, they've got kids, and like, what do I do? Like, you just focus on you. Hopefully the other person will see what's happening and want to jump on board, hopefully. Yep. But if they don't, at some point, you have a decision to make. I mean, that's really kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, and it's their decision. Do they want to stay in the negative toxicity?
Yep.
Or do they want to move on and help to heal themselves?
And in fact, from my encounter, from one of those interactions, I posted, that's where my quote of, oh shoot, what is it? Sacrificing your own happiness for somebody else's desire to be miserable is self-sabotage.
Absolutely.
That's where that comes from, because I was working with a wife. Husband had no desire to grow, to become better, had nothing. He called me a cult leader several times. Yeah, I know. So when you came up with the cult of bacon tacos, I'm like, right into that one.
Yeah, that is the entire reason I came up with that Facebook page, the Cult of Bacon Tacos, is because I was accused of my group, my paranormal group. We were accused of being a cult and brainwashing this woman into moving to Nebraska.
Yep. I'm sure you did.
No. This woman cried wolf. And what's interesting is once everything was said and done, that's when I got the real information about this person.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I learned a lot about this person. That's when I really started to understand this person. And we talked about the victimhood mentality earlier.
Yeah.
It is a thing out there. The empath narcissist relationships, they tend to draw each other in. And I have been on both sides of that fence. I am an empath. I'm a physical empath, emotional empath. The list goes on. But I've also been the narcissist in a relationship. But I have been the victim of a narcissist in the relationship.
Right.
And that really helped me learn. So I used to call it a curse. It's a gift. Thank you, Spirit, for putting me on both sides of the fence. Because if I wasn't put on both sides of the fence, I wouldn't learn how treating somebody that way makes them feel.
Right.
And I don't ever want to make anybody feel like that again.
Right.
My next relationship, I want somebody real. I want somebody who can be honest with me. If there's an issue in our relationship, sit down and talk with me about it. Let's figure it out. You know, I would rather do the work than start over again.
Yep.
I started over enough. I'm done starting over. I want to build something.
It's time for the empire.
What's that?
It's time for the empire.
Yes. Yeah. Instead of the basement.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is really getting deep with me, going back through things, and it's actually helping me. A number of years ago, all this would have triggered me, and I'm like, dude, I gotta go. Can't do this. No, now it's like, okay, you know what? I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing new things. I claim victimhood. Well, guess what? Yeah, stuff happened to me. But I eventually picked myself up, said, okay, you know what happened? Let's move. Let's go. Let's grow.
Yep. What is the meaning you're giving it? And you got to own it. Own it, control it, change it.
We get to decide.
Mm-hmm.
We do. We get to decide our mindset. When you wake up in the morning, you get to decide what kind of a day you're going to have. If you wake up on Monday and you say it's going to be a shit day at work, guess what? It's going to be a shit day at work because you put that intention out to the universe.
That's it. I pissed off people by saying that your depression is a choice.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It really is. Hey, Robert, there you are. Thank you. What's the topic about tonight? There really is no specific topic. Kelley Meyer, my guest, is a self-help coach and teacher, and we're just talking about different topics. If you scroll up in the comments, I set some links up there to his Facebook pages and stuff like that, and there is actually a freebie, so you might want to scroll up. If not, I will be posting them in the comments again. In fact, I should just do that right now. It's called copy and pasting drives me nuts sometimes. ProjectFindYourFire.com is his website.
Yeah, if mindset is cool to you, you might want to watch the replay of this one. There was a
Absolutely.
lot going on early. We got right down to business.
We did. We did. Hang on a second. Well, why didn't that one? Oh, it combined. Okay. All right. I'll reshare the first one. Tech issues. Gotta love them.
Technology is great when it works.
Yes. There we go. Okay, I got two more. Oh, that awkward radio silence or video silence.
So a guy walks into a bar with a penguin on his back.
I walked into a bar one time and it hurt. All right, that last one, this one, projectfindyourfire.com/7 steps. That's a freebie.
That's the freebie.
That is a freebie. I think everybody ought to click on that tonight, tomorrow, and check it out. I bet you're going to find something that intrigues you and entices you into looking a little bit further. And I just may do the same thing tomorrow. I've got to sit down and do a lot of work on the computer tomorrow. So I may just do that as well. But I know I'm going to get frustrated on my computer tomorrow. But that's okay. I get to choose whether or not I get frustrated. That's where we work. We get to choose our emotions. We get to choose. When you wake up, you can tell yourself it's Monday. It's going to be a shit day at work. Guess what? Universe hears that. Guess what? You walk in, it's a shit day at work. Mm-hmm. Now it's Monday. Okay, cool. New week, new beginning. We call it a new beginning. When I wake up in the morning, I tell everybody, good morning. My guides, my spirit guides, my spirit animals, my dog, my cat. And then as soon as the sun comes up, I walk over to the window. I say, good morning, sunshine. Thank you, spirit, for another Monday. And I say it just like that. And I go to work. I pull in that parking lot. I'm like, you know what? Whatever happens, I'm going to get through it. It's a good day. And I've had a lot of good Mondays doing that.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of shit days doing that too. And that's okay. But I know whatever happens, I'm going to get through it. 5 o'clock's going to roll around. I get to go home, pet my dog, pet my cat, do my garden, do my yard, whatever. And then the next day is a new day. You can choose to have a good day. You can choose to have a not so good day. And even if it's a not so good day, try to learn from it.
It's always about learning.
Every
day's a good day. It's about those learnings, the successes of failure, which is a keynote that I give. And there are a couple rules about failure and making successes of them. And in order to fail at something, you have to, number one, you must reduce your mindset to perceive falls as failures.
Yeah.
We're all going to fall, right? But if every time you fall, you see it as a failure, that's number one. Number two is you must give yourself permission to fail and make failure an option. Somebody asked me once, if you could do anything in the world and not fail, what would it be? And my brain went, well, I'm not going to fail because it's not even an option. So I guess I could do whatever I wanted to. And then number three, you must make a conscious decision to not learn from the event.
Right.
Learning is an innate human activity. Babies in the womb are learning sounds, their parents' voices, music. Nobody taught them how to learn. So in order to not learn, you have to make a conscious decision to not learn.
Yeah.
If you do those three things, make a conscious decision to not learn, reduce your mindset to perceive falls as failures, and give yourself permission to fail, if you do those three things, then you can successfully fail. But that means that you have made a conscious decision in your life to fail.
My conscious decision is I don't fail. I have learning experiences.
Yep.
I don't have mistakes. I have learning experiences. With my TBI, does that experience have to happen multiple times sometimes in order to get through and sink in?
Yep.
Yes. If I'm reading something, if I'm reading an article, I can read a paragraph 5 times and not be able to tell you what it says.
Yeah.
But 6 months down the road, it'll click. My brain works different than other people now, and that's okay. I've learned to accept that. I used to think I was the victim in the situation. No, it's just I learn differently than other people, and that's all right. It takes me a little longer. That's okay. I want to learn more about numerology. It took me several years to learn Reiki. Cool. Guess what? I did it. Numerology, I've been learning on my own by reading articles and listening to videos. I got a book in there on my nightstand by my bed that I'm going to start reading before bed. Because when I read, it puts me to sleep. And I know this, but, I've actually thought about going back to school for psychology. And then I looked at the prices.
Right?
And where I'm at right now in my life, that's not going to happen. I had to do some things to get some things, and it's going to take a while to recover from that expense, but that's okay. It was needed. It got done. I figured it out. But when it first arose, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I figured it out. And that's what I tell myself with every new situation that comes up. Okay, this happened. You don't know what to do right now, but you'll figure it out. You always do.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to rebuild my house, but I figured it out.
That's right.
As I was tearing it apart, I took pictures. I wrote notes on how it was assembled. When you disassemble an engine in your garage, you do the same thing. So you know how to put it back together. This head goes on this side. This head goes on this side. You turn them around. No coolant flows. Big issue. You don't build your house right. The energy doesn't flow right. There's a lot of energy flowing through this house. It is very safe. I have things embedded in the concrete and the wood. I have protections in this home like no other's mother.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. And it doesn't surprise me that you say that anyway.
I have been on live feeds or on Facebook conversations, face to face, and live feeds. People would send something to hit my boundary, and it would shake my home. They heard it. They saw it. You can't make that up. And I would go to the front door with them watching, and they could see it running from a block away from down by the funeral home, trying to bust through my boundary. And they would hit. You could audibly hear it. You could feel it, and the house would shake. I'm like, no, you ain't doing this. Put a little lightning in the boundary. It touches it, knocks it back a block. Now let's talk. Whoever made you knew that you would not be able to get through that boundary, but they sent you anyway with a mission. You were a golem. You were given a mission. You have to do that mission. You can't do that here, and they knew that. So where do you need to go to do that mission? Back home. Yes, you have a choice. You either go complete your mission, or I will take you out in a fire. Bye.
Yeah.
Renee has heard and seen it. Other teammates have. A lot of people don't believe in that stuff, and that's okay.
Well, sure.
I believe that on a daily basis. I also deal on a daily basis with what you deal with, helping other people. And sometimes just listening to somebody can help them so much because they get to hear their own voice telling them their own problems. And eventually that sinks into their subconscious, where your subconscious is working 24/7 and your conscious is only working when you're awake. So you're going to work through that issue and eventually you're going to see a solution. And then you get to decide if you take that solution.
One thing I love about decisions is that this occurred to me, a little while back, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me earlier, but a few years ago, I realized that we have never, even you and I, and anybody actually, but you and I have never made a bad decision.
No.
At the moment that we made the decision. It's always after the fact. We're like, damn, that sucked. That hurt really bad. But at the moment we made the decision, nobody ever said, hey, this is a really bad decision. I think we should do this. Nobody ever says that. They're like, hey, this is going to be really fun. Or, hey, this is a great idea. And then afterwards, like, no, now I'm in ER and that wasn't a good decision at all.
Right.
So that's the beautiful thing about decisions, but we always have a decision, and what do you decide? There was, back when I was doing a lot of Facebook Lives, I went to the grocery store about 20 miles away, and there was this woman. I could see her out of my peripheral vision. She was sort of checking on me, but she didn't approach me at all. But wherever I was, she was like there. I could see she was watching me. Well, eventually she finally came up to me and she said, it took me a while to recognize you, but I watch your videos. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And then she said, why you got to be so happy all the time? And she meant it. She was like mad that I was happy all the time.
Yes.
And I tried to explain to her, it hit me and I had to think about it. But then I explained to her, like, you know what? I experience the same emotions you do. I have moments of anger and frustration and sadness and anxiety and all of this stuff that you experience.
But we don't allow it to control us.
Live there.
Yeah.
I was happy.
Observe, don't dwell.
Yeah.
Observe, don't dwell. I've been there.
Yeah.
They try to drag you down to their level because they refuse to make the decision, to make changes. Therefore, you can't be happy if they aren't.
Right.
It can happen in relationships, stranger walking up to you in a grocery store, somebody walking in a Napa, just saying. They will try to drag you down.
Yep.
When you raise your vibration and your light shines through to other people.
Yep.
Some people look at it and it's like, no, that's too bright. I got to go over here.
Yeah.
Some people, oh, look at that. But that makes me mad that they can do that and I can't. But other people, hey, I think I might want a little bit of that. How can I get some of that? Hey, hey, you, how can I get what you got?
Yep.
Well, let's talk. You want some help? Yeah. Cool. Not F you for being so happy. Yeah. It's a thing. And I'm going to get to a comment real quick here. Don't mean to step in, but Case, I saw you comment. I think I've fallen from a winner mentality to victim, even without thinking about it. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about it. It can be instantaneous. All this stuff is happening to me. Boom. Okay.
Yeah.
But what is that teaching you? Where is that telling you to elevate yourself? Is that telling you to look for a different job or learn some skills so you can find a different job? If it's about a relationship, look at the relationship. Is the relationship worth saving? Is the partner agreeable in doing the work to save it? If they're not, guess what? Just save yourself.
Right. Were they on when we were talking about meaning? Because that was a big thing too.
He just jumped on.
Okay.
Yeah, he just joined in.
So you may want to.
He's a good kid.
Oh, you're a winner. Of course you are a winner. Everybody's a winner.
Yeah.
Listen, I want you to right now give yourself a high five. I am a superhero. Everybody go. I am a superhero. So one of the
I am Batman.
there you go. There you go. One of the courses that I did, it was an undergrad level human behavior course. And the assignment was we were to walk around campus for an entire day as somebody who was depressed. And we had to journal about how our day went. And the day sucked. The day sucked really bad. Like I was a victim. Everything was happening to me. Like my life, by the end of the day, I was ready to just be done with life. Like it was that bad. So the next week, a few classes had passed. The next week, we were to walk around campus as a superhero. Walk as a superhero, breathe as a superhero. You are the superhero. Everywhere you go, you be the superhero and journal about it. And as I went through, like my senses were like on hyper alert. Like I was hearing things like from 2 blocks away, like somebody opening a drawer. I was like seeing things through windows that I could never see before. Awesome. Like I was on top of the world. And that's all it was, is the mentality of how you carry yourself, your physiology, the language you use to yourself. That all changes your mindset. It's really simple to change how you feel.
Yeah. When you aren't feeling good about yourself, what do you do?
Yeah.
Stand up. Be proud of yourself. Because you may be going through some things, but guess what? You're going through some things.
Superheroes go through things.
And you've gotten through them. And
Yes.
it's taught you. If you think about it, it has taught you. Rely on yourself and your past experiences to learn about your current experiences and possible future experiences. But if you are too scared to do that, and fear is okay.
Oh, yeah.
Fear is okay. It just means that might not be the day. But you need to look at yourself and say, you know what? I have accomplished things that I thought.
Go ahead. One of the things that I remind people too is fear is okay, but fear means you're getting into what is the unknown.
Yes.
And people don't fear the unknown. People fear what they believe about the unknown. Think about when you were a little kid and you had to walk through that little bit of foresty area to get to the house, or, you know, you're cutting across the vacant lot in the dark to get back home.
Yeah.
We're not afraid of the lot in the dark. We're afraid of the stuff we believe is living in the lot, right?
There is a reason for that.
Yeah.
Way back when, that bottom part of your brain, that is your fight or flight. That is there to protect you from the dinosaurs, or not the dinosaurs, but the mammoths.
You can call them dinosaurs. Yeah.
And the saber-toothed tigers that you had to battle against for food and to protect yourself from. That is fight or flight. Okay, I'm dead. Nope, let's run. Or, okay, I'm ready. Yeah. Fight or flight.
And here's how I teach people to flip that narrative of the unknown, is that when we experience what we believe to be the unknown, that scary point of the things that we're dealing with in our life, or walking through the forest, or whatever it might be, what happens when you venture into the unknown, or what is fearful? Your heartbeat starts to race, your palms start to sweat, your brain is going to start to go in 100 different directions.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. You already know that's going to happen before you experience the unknown, which means that the unknown isn't so unknown after all, because you already know how your body's going to respond to it. So now the unknown is actually known. You just don't know yet what you're going to discover in the known.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we fear past experiences because it put us in a bad place. So you get into a new relationship, and all of a sudden there's a similar situation that shows up, and that situation turned out really bad. Or did it? But it taught you enough to pay attention to that kind of a situation. It is up to you to communicate that current situation to this new partner and say, hey, can you help me understand this? And I'm going to put Casey's comment up here real quick. And then I'm going to hang on. Let's take a quick break. You good for a few more minutes?
A few more minutes. I am going to have to wrap up here pretty quick because
Okay.
I am limited tonight.
Okay. Let's get.
But I do want to hit on this comment.
Yeah. Let's hit on this, and then we'll jump off. Please say a thing or two about addiction. I'm a benzodiazepine junkie version of an alcoholic. Okay.
Follows up.
I'm disturbed even to do that. Okay.
Okay, so here's my thought when working with somebody with addiction. And this is very much so. Keith, if you need to take a break, go right ahead and I can go for a little bit here.
Give me just a second.
Yeah, okay. So I need you to understand that this isn't something that I can just give you advice for and help you conquer it. It's going to help you conquer it, but at the same time, this is something that needs constant work and attention. So I just need you to understand that. There are 6 fundamental human needs, and those needs are certainty, uncertainty or variety, significance, love or connection. Those 4 needs are the needs of the personality. All right. And then there is growth and contribution. Growth and contribution are the needs of the spirit. They make us feel fulfilled. Now, those first 4 needs, certainty, uncertainty or variety, significance, love and connection, are all yins and yangs of each other. So certainty and uncertainty are yins and yangs of each other. Significance is about self. Love connection is about others. So those are the yins and yangs. The 2 needs of the spirit, growth and contribution, are reciprocal needs. In other words, every time we contribute, we grow. Every time we grow, we contribute in some way. So let's deal with the first 4 needs. Every human being will meet every one of those 4 needs in some way. We as humans will lie, cheat, steal, do whatever we have to do, but we will meet all 4 of those needs. The only difference is which need is prominent to each person, because everybody is different, and how we satisfy those needs. Now, when it comes to addiction, anytime you meet 3 or more of those needs with a single action, you will create an addiction. There are good addictions and there are bad addictions. And you're talking about a negative addiction. So you are meeting 3 or more of your needs with your action. We have to figure out, you have to figure out, which needs are you meeting? Certainty. Does it make you feel certain? Is it your safety blanket? Is it your comfort zone when you do that? Smoking. Yeah. When I was a smoker, I felt really comfortable. I felt good. That was my safety blanket. That was my security. When I needed to go and sort of collect myself, that's where I went. Uncertainty, variety. Did I get that from smoking? Yeah. When we had to smoke in between classes at school, that was exciting. That was variety. We didn't know what was going to happen.
No, get caught. Yeah.
Significance. How does that make me feel about myself? Does it make me feel important? Does it make me feel like I'm part of a group because I'm a smoker? Yeah, for sure it did. How about love or connection? Did I feel some sort of a connection with my cigarettes? Oh, absolutely. I satisfied all 4 needs. That's why I was addicted to cigarettes in this example. And that's why you have this addiction to what you're addicted to, because you're meeting 3 or more of those needs. The way to break an addiction is to substitute something Substitute a different way to meet your needs, but you must meet them at the same intensity.
Yeah.
In other words, somebody who is addicted to skydiving, you know, the adrenaline junkie, if they want to stop being an adrenaline junkie because they fear for their own health and safety, that's a good reason, right? But they must find something to substitute that meets it at the same need. So instead of jumping out of airplanes without a parachute, you have to find something that is just as intensive, but is safer to do, which is the hard part.
Yeah.
For me, when I started my stop smoking campaign for myself, I knew it was a habit. And I thought if I just substitute another habit, that I could break this habit. And so I thought every time I want a cigarette, I'm going to start doing push-ups. I'll do like 10 push-ups. I'm not kidding you. I would do like 1,000 push-ups during the course of a day. And I'm not even joking. I would have a cigarette while I was doing push-ups because it's not meeting the same needs and it's not meeting at the same intensity that I got from having the cigarette.
Yeah.
So that's the trick. You have to find some way to get certainty. You have to find some way to get uncertainty or variety in life. Variety is the spice of life. That's exciting, right? We need the comfort. We need something that's exciting that lights us up. We need something that makes us feel fulfilled, like, you know, like we're important. So find something there and find something that you can give to others, like you can live out to others. You can better other people's lives in a way, but it must be at the same intensity that you get from whatever your addiction is.
Yeah. Some kind of new hobby. Is there something you've wanted to try for a long time, but you just haven't done it?
Something that
okay, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
I have plastic model cars that use model glue and paint, you know, to put together. I used to do so many of those when I was a kid. And over the years, I stopped doing them when I graduated. And over the years, I collected a few. I got a Mustang 2. I got a Pinto. Got some other ones. They're all Fords, naturally. But they sat. And my son and I started doing a couple, but we didn't get them done. And so they sat. And then the fire happened. Guess what survived? Very few things survived that fire, but they did. They're in my closet. I moved them to my closet from my basement. That's one step. Okay. Next step is getting some room cleaned off on a flat surface. Okay. That is in the works. I've been working on that this weekend. And then I'm going to get them out. And I'm going to get the model glue out. I'm going to get my paint brushes out. And I'm going to build me a car. I'm going to let my little kid out.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask my little kid, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'm going to say to my little kid, not my son, my little person, me, my little kid. Hey, I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you back then, but we're okay now. I can be here for you now as I'm doing this, as we are doing this. I'm going to tell my little kid, you got this. You survived. You did good. You prospered. My hair's standing up. I'm going to have that conversation with my little kid. And sometimes seeing what allowing ourselves to see, feel, and understand what our little kid went through at that time will allow us to see that we did not have the skills in order to survive that situation at that time. So we survived it the only way we knew how. And that transfers into our future. We keep surviving the only way we know how. Well, we need to find a different way to survive. New habits can be a positive. New projects, it can be positive. But again, I don't like change. So one day at a time, I made a step. I moved them from my basement to my second floor in my office closet. And I did that after I got the door on that closet. Steps. one thing at a time. Set goals. Okay, before I do this, I am going to get all my doors put on.
Yeah.
Took me a long time, but I got doors.
Yes, you do.
I have things
A
in
lot
my
of things. You got a lot of things you didn't have a little bit ago.
yeah. I got a floor on my
Yeah.
second floor that I'm sitting on. Baby steps, and don't be afraid to take time to get something accomplished. Don't think you got to snap your fingers and get it done.
But
It's-
don't wait to start.
Right. Start thinking about it in a positive way. Okay, I am using these substances for this effect, for this reason. Understand your addiction. Take that demon, learn its name, and make it your bitch. Okay?
That's a great way to say that. Yeah.
Once you dissect it and you can understand it, then you understand how to fight it. Now, if two countries are in war, they study each other's tactics before they make any moves. So, study your own tactics, study your own day-to-day
The pattern.
routine, your
Yep.
patterns. Okay. When I come, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I come home from work, I get home about 5:30. 6 o'clock is beer 30. Now, why is that? Because I have brain damage. My mind rolls a million miles an hour, 24/7, and I can't sleep. Okay. So I have a 6-pack, shot of tequila, 10 o'clock, I'm ready for bed. I go to bed. And then I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, 5:30, 5:33, 5:34, before my alarms go off. I had to relearn my entire life, my entire schedule, my entire internal clock when I quit my last job. Worked for a couple years on my house, not working for anybody because I could pay myself. And then I got scammed out of money and I had to find a job, and I got a job. It's a factory job. And guess what? I got to be there on time. So my new boss was nice enough to allow me a month or two before I started. I had enough to get by in order for me to relearn my schedule. I experimented with trying different things, different times, different amounts, whatever. And I found the right combination for me. Now I'm still working on that. I'm still working on that change, on the mental thinking, on what I can use to help me get to sleep, more natural, healthy means. It's a constant thinking pattern. I'm always looking for new knowledge. The most knowledge I need to know is about myself. Why can't I sleep at night? Because since 6 years old, I was used to going to sleep at night with things going bump in the night. I don't have that anymore. So now I use a fan or a TV or the radio as my emotional background noise. It helps, but I haven't solved the issue yet, so I'm still looking for my answers. I'm still allowing Spirit to help me and guide me in order to get there, and one of these days I will. But it's up to me.
One thing that you mentioned is our patterns and routines. And we have to remember to help this guy is that everything we do, everything everybody does in life is a pattern and a routine. Understanding your pattern, like you're just talking about, is key. The easiest enemy to defeat is the one that you've prepared for.
Yeah.
Most times that enemy is us, right? Just like Keith says. And so understanding the pattern, like smoking. What's the first thing you do in the morning when you wake up? I know because I went through this. You have a cigarette. What's the first thing you do when you get in your car? You have a cigarette. What's the first thing you do when you're done eating? You have a cigarette. What's the first thing you do when you get out of your car? You have a cigarette. What's the first thing you do when you leave your work? You have a cigarette, right? That's all pattern. Everything, all that addiction is meeting your needs, but you're doing it in a pattern. And if you can interrupt your pattern, and it doesn't matter if when I'm working with people, if it's an addiction, if it's depression, anxiety, fears, phobias, angers, whatever it is, I have to find your pattern. And when I can find your pattern, I will interrupt your pattern. And if I interrupt your pattern, that forces your brain into a new way of thinking. One of my favorite experiments is I like throwing people off guard. So whenever I get into a crowded elevator, I am on purpose the last person on the elevator. Now, when you get on an elevator, what do? You go in as far back as you can go, and then you face the door.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm the last person on, and I face the back wall. So everybody now is staring at me, and I'm staring back at them. You
Okay.
wouldn't believe how uncomfortable people are, but I've just broken their pattern. And right now they are prime for me to give them new information. I don't. I just want to
Right.
make them uncomfortable because I think that's fun. And so, but that's all it is. It's just breaking patterns in simple way. Sometimes when people are very upset at me, they're starting to holler at me for whatever reason. I'm like, did you get a new haircut? It looks really good on you. I just noticed that. And then they're like, what are you talking about? No. Yeah, no, it looks really good. Who did that for you? Because I broke their pattern. Now they don't even know how to respond about their anger anymore.
Right.
So, and the same is true for your addiction. Discover your pattern, just like Keith was talking about. Discover how your body is working, what spirit, what universe is all feeding you, and how you're responding to it. Understand that, and then just bend it just a little bit. It doesn't take a shock. I mean, maybe it could. I mean, that might be stick a fork in an outlet. That might solve it.
No, I totally get you there. Because what I've been thinking about this is I have been studying my own patterns.
Yeah.
When do I light up a cigarette? You brought up a lot of good points. Main thing is I get bored. I'm not bored here, not saying that. But it is a time waster. If I've got nothing to do, what do? I go out, light a cigarette. When I hit my 10 o'clock break and my 3 o'clock break, I go out to my vehicle and I have 2 cigarettes. I got 10 minutes, I can get 2 cigarettes down. One for the last hour, one for the next hour. Okay. Well, now since I've been studying this, I've noticed, and I didn't before, but I've noticed, I don't need that second cigarette. So I can wait the first 5 minutes, then have a cigarette. Okay. And at noon, when I go to lunch, I come home. I got to haul ass, but I can come home for lunch. Used to be, I lit right away. As soon as I got in that car, I was lighting a cigarette. Well, then I started waiting until I got to the stop sign. Then I started waiting until I got downtown to a different stop sign. Then I started waiting until I got by the South Viaduct. Okay. I used to have 2 or 3 on the way home, 2 or 3 on the way back. I have 1 on the way home now. I know if I light another one, my body's gonna say, you really don't need this.
Yeah.
And I don't. I know I don't. So I don't. Now on the way back to work, stressful situation, I may have 2 or 3. But I'm noticing things about it, and I'm admitting it. Okay, yeah, this is what you do, and it's a good thing that you're noticing this, because that's going to help you change your pattern. You know, you can wait a little bit. When I'm talking and bullshitting and stuff, it's a thing.
Yeah.
But do I have to? No. Can I wait? Yes. Does it get uncomfortable to wait? Yes, it does. Physically, withdrawals. I get withdrawals from nicotine. I do. I admit that. I am addicted to this like no other's mother. Even Ozzy Osbourne said that out of all the drugs he got addicted to and quit, this was one of his hardest.
Mm-hmm.
But he did it.
Maybe part of the cure for you is instead of lighting up, chew on it, because you're still getting the nicotine, right? So eat the cigarette instead of smoking it. Start doing that.
I've tried that. I've tried chew. I've tried this. I've tried vaping. No. Vaping, I don't like the chemicals. Chew, I don't like the taste of it. I I don't like the taste of tobacco in my mouth. If there's a piece of tobacco on the end of it and it gets my tongue, I about gag. So I understand your point and I appreciate that, but that's not an option for
There
me.
is something comforting about the warmth. I get it.
It's something different than just breathing. It's a different experience. It's something different. It takes your mind off of things. When that nicotine hits your bloodstream and then it hits your brain and you let out that dopamine, I think it's dopamine, that happy chemical, everything mellows out and you can breathe again.
My brother, I am going to have to wrap this up.
Yes. And Kaysen said that's very Zen-like approach. I'm going to listen back. Awesome, dude. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And dude, you have more strength than you know. Not that I've looked, but I've looked. So you just keep going. You keep working on yourself and you're going to get this.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for jumping on tonight. Thank you, Kelley, so much for coming on. We kept it at 2 hours and 15 minutes, so we did good. I'm proud of us.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. So we're going to hop off. You all have a good evening. Go do what you need to do. We're going to do the same thing. And we will see you next week on Monday with Joni, where we talk about what is going on up there with the astrology and how it affects us in our day-to-day grind. So, Kelley, thank you very much. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you again.